Welcome back to Rubbin'minds. Now, today's episode is all about the events that shaped 2024, the people that Nigerians talked about. In fact, when you put their names in the search engine, they'll come out, and also some of the slangs that 2024 gave us. The first segment, we looked at the events that shaped Nigeria in 2024. And for this segment, we're looking at the most talked about Nigerians in 2024. Joining me for this very important conversation is Hassan Olanrewaju, who is a project manager and social commentator. He's joining us from our Abuja studio. Hassan, welcome to Rubbin'minds.
Thank you very much.
So let's look at the most talked about Nigerians. I mean, when I think about social media, for example, where a lot of young people spend their time on, you'll always probably see this individual speaking out for the people, sometimes very controversially. And I'm talking about Very Dark Man, who has sort of become the voice of the people in 2024, jumping on issues for the people. When you think about Very Dark Man, what comes to mind? What are some of the highlights of the year he had? And why do you think Nigerians feel the need to go and report certain cases to Very Dark Man for him to come and speak and get involved?
I think Very Dark Man is a very interesting person, and I also think some of the reasons why people feel they should always report to him is because Nigerians have seen that the security parastatals in the countries don't work. So in the country does not work. So Very Dark Man has been able to build a brand for himself by shaming certain characters on social media into the right. If you would use that term, into the right character. So you can look at some of the things that he has done throughout the year. Some good, some not so good. But generally, I would consider Very Dark Man a force to reckon with. Not necessarily my most ideal person, but he is a force to reckon with in the Nigerian social media space. Especially some of his not so good antics was the when he went head to head with the with Fowles and his father's family over some certain slander. Also recently, he was saying something on social media about his new NGO that 180 million has been missing from the organization's website. But generally, I think Very Dark Man has been able to create that niche, which I feel is then deviating at the moment. So it's a slippery slope to look at the man and the brand itself, because again, on one hand, he seems to call out certain characters, and then on the other hand, he seems to be in that same variation of the characters that he calls out. So he's a very, very interesting fellow, very, very controversial fellow. Not my favorite fellow, but then again, I do feel a lot of people do. He has a lot of influence on many people, and it's also, how would I put it? It's also a result of how our country is shaped, because again, many people spend their time on social media, and so he has been able to then prove to them, that he can call certain people to order, and some people maybe not so much. So,
and he's been able to leverage.
2024 has not been the best of years for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
From what you've said, like, hate him or love him, he has leveraged social media to use that voice. I want us to go to another person on the list. We've looked at Very Dark Man, but let's go to government. One of the ministers that has been talked about in Nigeria throughout 2024 has to be Olubunmi Tunji Ojo. And, when you think about getting a Nigerian passport, you're thinking, oh, I need to give somebody money. But he came in there, he, cut down the backlog when he came to passports. When you think about him, what do you think stands him apart from other ministers who are probably working just as hard, but we don't get to hear about them in the media?
I think Olubunmi Ojo is one of the best ministers that President Tinubu appointed. Since 2023, he has been able to do a lot of things, and majority of people know his antics and his work around the passport backlog. But as the Minister of Interior, your work expands beyond that, beyond just the passport, which I have had a couple of friends say very good things about. I have a friend who works in Lagos and was like, oh, it was relatively easy to get my passport. A lot of people have been commending, but also when we look at the issue around even the interior issues, you would see that he has been paying a lot of attention to it. One of the key things is also the prison reforms. He has been able to then pay much attention to some of the issues that affect, issues of interior, and so I think he is a shining star in the not so bright administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and while many people didn't give him chance, or we never really thought about him as one of the best when the appointments were being made, I feel he has made a very huge mark on on the Nigerian landscape within the last 1.5 years that he has been in position, from making sure that passports are gotten in time, corrections and other things around him. You could see that even though the changes are there, it's much more. You can see it more than most interior ministers that we've had in the past. Nigerians have a way of saying that interior ministers are just public holiday ministers, but Olubunmi Ojo has gone further and further to show that, yeah, I mean, Nigeria can work for Nigerians, and some of the things that affect Nigerians both home and abroad, he has been able to sort that out. I mean, majorly around the passport issues, trying to get it, trying to remove the bottlenecks, the backlogs around it,
yes.
Digitizing the process around it, and also, I mean, again, beyond just passports, the Nigerian
yes.
corrections,
you mentioned
prison
that.
reforms, you can see a lot of work that has been done around that too. Yeah.
Yes. We're still talking about the most talked about Nigerians in 2024. We've looked at Very Dark Man. We've looked at the Interior Minister, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo. Now we want to look at the entertainment industry, and you have Toyin Abraham. I mean, she's put out lots of movies, but she tends to enter the media a lot of times because of her staunch support for this administration, and that has polarized some of her fans, where they can't understand why she continues to support this this administration despite all the challenges, and to an extent some will say that it has also affected perhaps the reception of her movies in cinemas and the likes. Why do you think Nigerians can't separate someone's political allegiance from their craft?
I think it's almost impossible to do that. Your people's political whatever it is, ideologies, their political decisions, does not only affect them, it affects the entirety of people. And again, as somebody who is as influential as Toyin Abraham, I think she should understand the fact that whatever decisions she makes in the political realm would come back to affect other parts of her life. It's very, very interesting. I will give it to her that she has been very, very vocal in her support of the current administration, in her support for the current president. However, it's not news that it will come back to affect majority of of the other parts of our life. For example, the people that that watch movies the most are young people. The people that will go to cinemas to see movies are young people, and they don't seem to be happy with the current administration. And she seems to double down on the fact that this is where she is. This is where she's pitching her tent to it. It's a thing of principle. If you are willing to then stick to it, some things will suffer for it. I hope she gets out of it, but at the moment, I think it's almost impossible for people to separate people's political decisions from their personal lives. It would always come back to haunt them, whether for good or for bad, and we'll see whatever decision that she's making, how it affects our movies moving forward. I was having a conversation with some of my friends this morning, and these are some of the things that came into play. Movies coming out towards the end of the year, some not getting the traction they hope it would get, and some just blowing everywhere and everything like that. Politics is a very, very important part of our lives, and the moment you take a political decision, I think you should also be able to understand how it affects other parts of your life. And for influential figures, these are some of the penalties they need to pay. Sometimes it's for good, sometimes it's for bad. You support the right person, or you support the person, and then, it paves way for you. Sometimes you support some people, and it doesn't burn well so far for you. But so far, I think Tony Abraham is not doing badly in terms of, still staying on people's mind. She's still one of the most talked about Nigerians in 2024. How we now translate to business profit for her, I think that needs to be seen maybe in the first quarter of 2025, but give it to her. I like the fact that she has stayed with, a political conviction. Might not be what is your own, it might not be your own favorite things to hear, but, she has stuck with it so far, which is very, very rare with Nigerians. Yeah.
We still have quite a number of Nigerians to talk about because they have remained top of mind throughout 2024. We've looked at entertainment, politics, and I want us to look at something that really takes all Nigerians to a really good place, which is soccer. And it's always great when we see a Nigerian soccer star, football star shining globally. And for this year, it has been about Ademola Lookman. And what do you make of his success for not just Nigeria, but Africa? For some people, they're just hearing about it. But the diehard lovers of football, it was just a matter of time for him to get this recognition for all the years he's put into the game.
I think the first time I saw Ademola Lookman was in 2015. He was playing for Charlton Athletic, if I'm not mistaken. And somebody had tweeted about him that this is a star for the future. Like, the rawness of his talent was so much, and then the person was then appealing to the then Nigerian Football Federation president that do not let this boy play for England because obviously he's British. And he has had a couple of struggle across his career. I know he has played for Fulham, for Everton, and he has just struggled. But he seemed to have found his rhythm in Atalanta in Italy, which is a very good thing for him. I watched the game against Bayern Leverkusen a couple of months ago, where he totally destroyed a team that that was playing unbeaten all season long. And it's interesting to see for Nigeria as a whole. I think 2024 and 2025 has been 2023 and 2024 has been a very good year in terms of football that we played. Nigeria came second in the African Cup of Nations. Very, very hard defeat to swallow, but it also shows improvement in Nigerian football. We played very, very interesting football. Osimhen was the footballer of the year for 2023. Now another Nigerian is the footballer for 2024, which is very, very interesting. We hope to see what Ademola Lookman would do in the coming years. I see he has been up to a lot of things. I watched a game against Real Madrid and I was like, wow, this guy is really good. So yeah. Hopefully he does better, and then he keeps getting better over the years. Yeah.
We still have some personalities to talk about. I think the one that has been on the lips of everybody from beginning of the year till now has to be the #1 man in the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This administration, this is their second year in, and the expectations are still very much high. And going by the economic indices, Nigerians want more and they want it now. How has he been able to just really fill in those shoes, those huge shoes of being president, and also rising to the occasion so that Nigerians can feel him and his administration?
I think the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been lackluster at the very, very best. It's been filled with a lot of controversies. A lot of people should manage, while we keep seeing government, pumping billions of nairas into things that, we feel like, the people should get and everything like that. So, honestly, it's not been a very good 2 years for the administration, with a lot of things happening. Maybe because of also the kind of policies they've been implementing, the kind of projects they've been embarking on. It seems to be shrouded in a lot of controversy from the highway that is supposed to go from Lagos to Calabar. Again, nothing has come out of that. The 21 billion renovation of the vice president's house and palace, and then you wonder, why are you telling people to manage when you can pump in 21 billion into, the vice president palace. I can't remember who mentioned it, and then, said the former vice president was living somewhere. This is not the moment for us to start, putting those kind of monies into this thing. And his last interview, while many have hailed it to be very, very important, yes, I feel it was very, very good that he came out to then address the people, but there was really nothing to take home from that interview. It just meant, like, after almost 2 years, you're coming to talk to us for the first time, and majority of the things that were said were not really what resonated with the people, especially around, there was a very, very controversial part of what he said, where he said he has a friend who had a number of Rolls Royce, but now uses Honda. It doesn't bode well for, the president of Nigeria and for the people of Nigeria. It's been a very, very difficult period for him, leading the country of 200 million plus people. But I hope that, the president would, in 2025, look at some of the policies that has been put in place and see how, some of the low-hanging fruits that you can touch upon, which can affect lives of people who are at the grassroots. People are really suffering in the country, and you don't need to say anything about that. So I hope 2025 it will be able to touch on the low-hanging fruits and, affect the majority of the people. Yeah.
Yeah, and very quickly, so not too far from the president, in fact, related, the son of the president has also stayed in the media throughout 2024, and I'm talking about Sheyi Tinubu. He has become a focal point of this administration. You see people go on social media to talk to him, to get to his father. What do you make of this almost new role of the son, the office of the son of the president, if you may?
I don't think the role is new. I just think now it's much more pronounced. People have occupied that role in, over the years, but this is the most pronounced that we've seen it. And I also don't think it's about getting to his father. I also think there are a lot of machinations going on there. A lot of conspiracy theories or rumors, as if you like, people are speculating that he might be the next governor of Lagos State. But I think Sheyi Tinubu has been able to play to his strength, maybe not to the beneficiary of the people, but I mean to his own interest. And I think it's now the role of the president to then say that there are certain positions that should not be seen in the face of the public. The role of the first son of the republic is not a constitutional one. It might be ceremonial, but then again, we need to water it down because, again, Nigeria runs a presidential federalism. We are not running a royal system of government or a monarchical system of government. So I think, that part should then be downplayed. But, being the son of the president does not hurt anyone. I mean, it's whether or not we like it, it will be spoken about in various ways. Some might be true, some might not be true, but you just have to give it to him. I think he has played it to his strengths. Whatever the rumors,
well,
whichever
it depends
is
on
true,
which strength
we hope to see in 2025.
Well,
what did you say?
It depends on the strength you are referring to. And even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had on occasion mentioned that his son shouldn't have been at the FEC meeting where there was a picture of him there. But time won't permit us to go through all the names on this list. But very quickly, we have Nigerians who have remained talkable throughout the year 2024 that we're able to touch on, like Chidinma Adetshina, who became a worldwide sensation, doing us proud, going all the way to becoming runner-up. You can see the beautiful pictures of her at Miss Universe, the farthest Nigeria has ever been in that competition. You also have other personalities like Dele Farotimi, who has finally been released from detention. A prominent activist was in prison and he's out now. Other people that made this list that we didn't have time to talk about include Emma Sanusi Lamido. And then you also have to look at some of the political squabbles like Fubara versus Wike. They dominated the headlines, Rivers State, the politics. And then when you look at the price of petrol, the availability of petrol, you have to talk about Dangote and